Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this super awesome Granny in the Lineup granny square. It measures up exactly to match a 5-round granny, same stitches on each side. So you can mix and match and join your granny squares together of different kinds if you feel like it. You can also use this tutorial just as a basis for making an afghan. Just make your initial chain longer, or a scarf, whatever you would like to do. But this matches up with a 5-round granny, and I'll also be showing you how this Crochet Light crochet hook helps to see the stitches of when you're using a dark colored yarn. So you'll get to see that when we do our joining color at the end. Let's get started. So grab whatever yarn you are using for your stripy granny. I'm using these 5 colors, and you can just arrange them in whatever order you think you want to use them in. I think I'm going to start my granny like that. So get them ready and pick the color you're going to start with. So to make a stripy granny the same as a 5-round granny, which is the same as this mitered granny here, or the boxing granny, we are going to count one of your rows with shells going from end to end, not one with the corners. So here's a shell, so we're going to count these shells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This counts also, the one on this side. So I'm using this row because the shells are touching on both edges. You don't want to use ones where there's the corner spaces. That'll give you a weird measurement. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Multiple of 3, so 6 times 3 is 18, and plus 3 for our turning chain. So we're going to do a chain of 21. But of course you can do this the size of a blanket or whatever you want to do. So you just start by making a slip knot, any which way you make a slip knot. Put it onto your hook and chain your multiple of 3. I'm going to do 21, but you're welcome to do a very long chain and make a blanket or a scarf, whatever you like the width of. Just do a multiple of 3. So 1, 2, 3. 21. So now there's 21 V's. If you need to count them, you don't count that little knot down there, and you don't count what's on your hook. So into the 6th chain from the hook, and we just count these V's. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I just count actually these bottom little loops. Just this one loop at the bottom. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is 6. So I'm just going to put my hook in down there. So wrap your yarn and go into the 6th chain, grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2, and now we're going to make 2 more double crochets into that exact same spot. So here's our 2nd, and here is our 3rd. Now skip 2 chains, and we're going to be counting the chains the same way. So hold it to the side. And here is this one we've gone into. So here's 1, 2, we're going to go into this one right there. So wrap your yarn and go into that stitch. Grab your yarn and bring it back and make 3 double crochets into this chain. 2 and 3. Skip 2 again, so 1, 2, into the 3rd, wrap your yarn, and go in 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Skip 2, 1 and 2, wrap your yarn into the 3rd. Just remember to count your stitches from the bottom part of that V. 1, 2, 3, wrap your yarn, skip 2, 1 and 2, go into the third, and make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now you have 3 chains left. You can count them here on the bottom, these bottom loops, 1, 2, and 3. So we're still going to skip 2, and we're going to make 1 double crochet into the last chain. So just poke your hook into that last chain. This is going to make our corner spots for when we're joining them together. There is our double crochet. So we have finished the first round, and it looks like that. We're going to continue in this color, so chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work. And into this first space, we're going to make 2 more double crochets. So our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. 2. So there's our first cluster on this side. So on this side, we're going to be making sets of 3 double crochets into each of these spaces, in between the sets we made before. So 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And 3 double crochets into each of these spaces going along this row, like that. Into the last space, 3 double crochets. So there's our row so far. And now you can change color if you want to. So you can just cut your yarn. I leave a long enough tail to use with a needle. I don't want to be fighting my yarn later. So I pull this loop up, and I just kind of like leave it there. And I push my hook back down into that stitch. So I get those 2 loops right on my hook. So loop of the new yarn on my hook. Bring it up. And now this green one, we can kind of just pull that one back down because we don't need that anymore. It was just to make sure we didn't lose our stitch. And now there's 2 tails, and I'm just going to hold them alongside my work. I'm going to give them a pinch, just like that. And chain 3 to start my next row. Turn your work. You can still pinch those tails if you need to. And now wrap your yarn, and into this first space, you're just going to jump straight over and make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 3 double crochets. So now we're just going to go along this row doing the same, making 3 double crochets, 1 into each of these spaces, like that. And I'll meet you when we get to over here. At the end of the row, wrap your yarn, and we're going to go into the top of this chain 3. So you can kind of just pull your work, and you'll see this stitch here, that dimple. So there's 1, 2. We want to go into the next one, which is just kind of like a bit of a hot mess. But push your hook into that hot mess just off the edge. You want to get 2 loops of yarn on your hook. Grab your yarn and bring it back and make a double crochet. So that finishes off the side of your square. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work. And now into this very first space, 2 double crochets, because your chain 3 counts as your first double. And then 1 into each space going back along your work. Into the last space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. If your tails are getting weird, you can just give them a pull. And that's the end of our second color. And another way to end your yarn is just do a chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn out, and snug that down. And now you can work this tail into these back loops. So the back loops are just these ones here, just the back loop. So just one loop, and it's the one farthest away from you. And I go back into the center of the second shell. So I'm going to work it back over here. So this is the last one I'm going to work it into, or this one right there. So you just poke your hook in. You can start with the first one if you want, or the second, it doesn't totally matter. So just poke your hook in and bring this yarn back along this way. And I get it into this center one here, so one more. So it's way over there. And now I'm going to bring it back a couple stitches. I want to work over it in this space when I get there. So I want to make sure it is forwards and backwards in this space, which it is now, so that's great. Turn your work, put your hook into that first stitch. Somewhere in there, you want to make sure you're in a stitch, so you want a bit of yarn underneath your hook. You do not want to be in the space. Loop of your next color on your hook, and bring this through, slip stitch with both to join, and drop your tail. Chain 2, 1 and 2. If you join your yarn in a different way, do a chain 3. And wrap your yarn, and we're just going to jump over straight into that space and make our first shell of 3 double crochets. So just start in there, and I do this one a bit tight because I want to pinch in those ends. Like that. And now 3 double crochets into each space, working your way along, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So here we double crochet into that chain, top of the chain, just on that edge, that little corner chain. Double crochet, and we're going to go back, so chain 3, turn your work. So into this first space, your 2 double crochets for a total of 3, because your chain counts as a double crochet. So there's our 3. Work all the way back. We're going to do 3 rows of this color so that it equals a 5-round granny. So I'll see you at the end of this row. Into the last space, our last shell, and we can bring this tail up and over that corner as well. So we can work over it a smudge underneath these 3 double crochets. Oops. Like that. And now we're going to do one more row because we need 11 rows in total to equal a 5-round granny. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Turn your work and work your way back along this side. Doing the same as we always have. I'll meet you at the end of the row. So to finish off, double crochet into the top of that chain. So just push your hook in, 2 loops of yarn on your hook, double crochet, chain 1, and we can cut our yarn. Hook up and yarn through, and you can weave in this tail now if you'd like. Like that. And now you're finished with your next 2 colors. So you're just going to do 2 rows of your last 2 colors for a total of 11 rows. Just remember to turn your work and push your hook in to join your new yarn. Loop of yarn on your hook. Bring it through. Slip stitch with both to join. Drop your tail and chain 2. 1 and 2. So just keep going, make 4 more rows, 2 in each of your next 2 colors, and I will see you for the border round. So we finished our square, 2 rows, 2 rows, 3 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows, so 11 rows. And to finish off, we just finish off the regular way, make 1 double crochet into the top of that chain 3, so just push your hook in and make your double crochet to finish. Chain 1, and we can cut our yarn. Hook up and yarn through and snug this down to secure. Now you can weave in that tail as well. And now the yarn where you've ended and you've woven it into the back loops and you've gone over it with your first shell of double crochets, you can just cut that one off because that one is worked in. So that's this guy as well, and this guy. So wherever you finished your color, where you've joined your color, we still have to work those ones in. But you've gotten rid of half your tails. So that's a bonus. So now grab your joining color and I will grab my light up hook. I've used a 6mm clover hook and I'm going to use a 6mm crochet light hook. So they're the same size, they look different, but they are not, they're the same size. And get my new yarn. And it doesn't matter which side that you join to, it doesn't matter at all. Just pick a corner, so I'm just going to join into this corner here. And I will turn on this hook. You can see how it is light. Like that. So put your hook into your corner, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through, and slip stitch with both to join your yarn. So same as before, chain 2, 1 and 2, and you can see how the hook helps you see what is on your hook. You can see the yarn a lot easier. So wrap your yarn and 2 more double crochets into this corner space. Drop your tail and now into each corner space going along 3 double crochets. There's 2 and 3. And now I'll just show you in slow motion what it looks like with the crochet light. Into your corner, you can just bring your tail around. Also, you can work over it a tiny bit. So we're going to do 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets on this side. 1, 2 and 3, and now jump straight over, and we're going to do shells into each of these spaces working along our work or working along our edge. So 3 into each space. They look different, but we're treating them the exact same. Into our corner space, we'll do another corner, so 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. There's our 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, oops, 2, and 3. Now we're going over this tail in this square here, or this space, so I'm going to use a little bit of tension. I want to really pinch those down in there. Just at the bottom of the stitch where I go around, I pull on my yarn a bit so that that's a small little spot. I have to hold those tails in nice and snug. And 3 into each space going across. And I'll show you what it looks like without using the crochet light, or with it turned off perhaps. Is it harder to see the yarn? I feel like I'm feeling it more than seeing it. So into the corner space, another corner, so 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets. There's 3, here's our chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now into each of these spaces along this side, 3 double crochets into each space. Now into this corner spot, our last one, so we'll finish our corner with 3 double crochets. And I'm finished with this yarn now, so I'm going to join with the chain 2, 1 and 2, and slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 to join. It's a bit hard to see, but I'm going to be going just into that top corner. There's my join, my second, and my third. So I'm just going to push my hook into that top corner. I want 2 loops of yarn on my hook. Slip stitch to join and chain 1. Now we can cut my yarn, hook up and yarn through, and there is our granny square. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. We'd love to have you join our community, and thanks so much for watching. Stay hooked.